Lebanon's Judicial Council is expected to meet with the judge leading the investigation into last year's deadly port explosion in Beirut this coming week. The blast was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history. But many people in Lebanon are frustrated that little headway has been made on the investigation. Protesters took to the streets Thursday calling for the judge's removal. Violence erupted with snipers firing into crowds, killing 7 people. Lebanon's powerful Hezbollah blames the Christian Lebanese forces for the attack. The group denies that it was involved. Lebanon has dealt with long political and economic turmoil over the past 2 years. The nation has seen its currency value plummet, widespread power outages, and shortages of fuel and basic goods. To talk more about this is senior correspondent with the National, Joyce Karam. Joyce, thanks for being here. So we have a lot to cover. Let's start with a very destabilizing event, last year's port explosion. What do you expect from Tuesday's meeting between Lebanon's higher judicial council and the judge leading the investigation into the blast?
Thank you, Lana. Tuesday's meeting will be very important in terms of offering protection to the investigation. The Judicial Council is similar to the Supreme Court in the United States. It's the highest judicial body in the land. So it'll be critical to watch if they protect Judge Bitar, who has now turned into a national symbol for those seeking accountability in Lebanon, or if the council joins those smearing Judge Bitar and trying to sabotage the investigation. As you mentioned, the port explosion is one of the biggest non-nuclear blasts in history. It shattered half the city of Beirut, and we have not seen accountability in the year since it happened. Judge Bitar had subpoenaed former officials that are close to Hezbollah, but they have not appeared in front of the judiciary. So we are at a very critical and important juncture, not just for the investigation, but for the future of the judiciary and impunity in Lebanon.
Joyce, why has the investigation, given how earth-shattering, literally, it was, why has it made so little headway? And is that in part because of the deeper problems that we're seeing in Lebanon?
This is related to the deeper problems, Lana. I mean, Lebanon is going through its most turbulent time since the civil war that ended in 1990, but it's also related to the endemic corruption in the country. Right now, Judge Bitar cannot even subpoena a former Hezbollah loyalists to appear in front of the judiciary. The power of the militias was there for everyone to see last week in the middle of Beirut. So there are so many challenges and a weakened state institutions in Lebanon that, on top of the economic crisis, of the skyrocketing poverty, is a big challenge for the state, for the Lebanese armed forces and security.
Well, Lebanon was operating without a government for more than a year. Last month, the Lebanese prime minister and president agreed to form a new government, but now that's under threat. Please explain why that is for our viewers.
The new government that Najib Mikati was able to form is definitely now under a critical test itself. The bloc inside the government that's loyal to Hezbollah has decided to boycott the government deliberations this week. The prime minister himself is under a lot of pressure to fire Judge Bitar. So whether he chooses to listen to the voices of sabotage and fire Mr. Bitar, or to keep him, could determine the future of his government. There is something in the investigation of the port explosion that those who are trying to sabotage are afraid of. Who stored the 3,000 ton of aluminum nitrate in the middle of Beirut? This city has seen so many assassinations and so many crimes, but it's never seen accountability. And this is the first time in the history of the country since the 1970s that there is an investigation, a local investigation, where names could be named for those who are accountable. So this is the critical part here. As far as the government, it is very important for Lebanon to have a functioning government. I mean, the level of unemployment, the level of poverty, the fuel, the daily shortages are also threatening to its population. So that's why I say we are at a very turbulent turn in the country, unseen since the 1990s. And it is important for the international community, for the United States to take measures in the road ahead to support the state institution if we want to prevent a failed state, another failed state on the Mediterranean.
And Joyce, you're making reference now to the 90s. How is what we're seeing now similar and different from what happened in the lead up to the Lebanese civil war? And are there concerns that the country is heading towards another civil war now?
Lana, absolutely. There are concerns. The ugly images coming from Beirut, almost from the same area that triggered the civil war in 1975, the divided sectarian lines that we saw in Beirut throughout the war, made a comeback in the last few days. The only difference I would say now from the 1990s is the strength of the Lebanese armed forces and the security that were quick to take control of the situation. But again, what's going to happen next? Well, will they be able to restore stability in the long term? What will happen to the investigation? I'm afraid we don't know the answers yet, but it is important for the international community to offer support for those institutions and for an independent judiciary in getting answers to how did 218 people die on August 4th, 2020.
And Lucy, I really appreciate you giving us the context for understanding what's going on. I also want to just ask you about the attacks on protesters Thursday. And it seems almost incomprehensible, the snipers firing into those crowds of protesters. Is that kind of violence against demonstrators unusual there? And what do we know about who was shooting at those protesters?
We don't know the full details yet. I just saw something come on the Lebanese media that they're accusing Syrian nationals of carrying some of the attacks. But we don't know exactly who was shooting. What we know, and the scary images are, again, the power of militias in the country, and how easy and how quick it was for the violence to return. I mean, you had kids who were in their schools who were evacuated. This is not normal in a country, and it hasn't been the norm in Lebanon for the last 2 decades. So we may be entering a new reality for the country if the state fails at finding out who did this violence and protecting the Lebanese armed forces and security.
Joyce Karam, thank you so much.
Thank you.